Welcome, everyone to Conversations. We are back. I am excited as your host, Leah MC. So, tonight we are going to have a very engaging conversation as this is our Juneteenth edition. So, happy pre-Juneteenth to everyone out there in our listening audience. So we're gonna get this thing going. We're gonna get it popping tonight. Like I said, engaging probably isn't even the right descriptive word for what this conversation is going to be. But I have my guest. He is a good friend of mine. Taking it way back to the 90s. Woo! The early 90s. But he is still out here doing the work as he was when we were in school. So I'm about to bring him on up. He is coming from the great state of Florida. But, we going to pardon that. But he's coming from Florida. My friend, attorney Irvin Daphnis.
Hey,
Irv, what's good, my
how you
friend?
doing? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Look, they didn't get your little accent down there, huh?
Well, I mean, it's good to be in alive. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. Congratulations to you on your 10th episode,
Well,
Conversations. We appreciate you and everything
oh,
that you're doing.
I appreciate you for availing me and giving your time to the people as always. This ain't new.
It's not our first rodeo. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Not
The Cowboys was a pejorative term back in the days. They used to call black men cowboys
mm-hmm.
and white men cow hands.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
one was
yeah,
doing the work, even though the other was really doing the work, but they were diminished down to not being a man, huh?
yeah. The more things change, the more things remain the same, unfortunately. But I just appreciate the opportunity that we have to study, and to read. Readers make leaders, I always say.
Yeah.
And at one point, we always said if you want to hide something from folk, put it in a book.
Irv, I was just sitting here thinking the same thing, right? Like literally, they always said that, but I
Right,
used to think that they were just talking about put the information right between
right,
the two leaflets,
right.
if you will.
That's where I'm going with it. Because
Yeah,
at this point in time, we have information, it's out. But that doesn't mean that most people take advantage of it. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of deep fakes out there, and with AI now,
yeah,
you have to be able to really study to show thyself approved, as the scriptures say.
yeah, absolutely.
But with that said, I mean, it was fascinating just to know about that fact. And when we talk about Juneteenth and our history, it predates whatever you learned in school. It's not enough to just our history doesn't start off with slavery.
Yeah,
Neither does it just it's the middle passage.
yeah,
We were here
yeah,
thousands of years before they brought slaves from Africa. Some of our ancestors did come from Africa in the Middle Passage, but
yeah,
many of us were already over here,
yeah,
aka Negro Indians,
yeah.
indigenous people. We've been here.
Yeah. And it's so interesting too, though, when we talk about hiding information in a book. I don't
Right.
think that, and you let me know what you think. I don't think that it's just simply the fact that, right, we're not prone to reading. But I think that a lot of the information that's hidden in books is simply in spaces or in institutions that they don't allow us into to get access to said book. What's your thought on that?
I say that we, at this point in time, that with the technology that we have,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of there's so much information that we've been inundated with information to the extent where people's um, cognitive realities are shortened. Like there's just so much information.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that people take the time. I think we become lazy. And and back in the day, we had what is called a card catalog. So
Right.
you had to not only just research a subject, but you had a system, a Dewey Decimal System. So all of that is not even, most people don't even have to go there. The thing is, a meme is not the end all and be all of information, truth, and knowledge.
Yeah.
People
I
take
guess
it too seriously. Memes too seriously. It's the beginning and a flash of a thought process.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to have that conversation, but more importantly, be able to find secondary sources for added information on whatever subject you're studying. So that's why they're taking books out of certain institutions, because most of those institutions or most of the information is actually free if you really want to learn about whatever it is. Black cowboys, indigenous people. The thing is that they actually are in control of much of that information that's being put out.
And kind of that's where I'm going, right? So it's not, again, that we do not have a desire to read. We don't have a desire to learn. We know when information was not allotted to us, or the teaching of the quote unquote English language was not afforded to us, and we had to kind of create our own to continue to communicate and to kind of pick up pieces of what was being said around us. But I guess I look back, Irv, too, and we didn't just jump right on into this thing. You know, I love you, Irv. This is how we get out often, y'all. This is how we do it. But I look back at our years when we were, young adults at Oakwood College, now Oakwood University. And then for me, I kind of have to go a couple of years beyond that when I went to the University of Michigan, and I saw a disparity in the information that was afforded and allotted between our HBCUs and what is actually sitting within our PWIs, our predominantly white institutions. They had a wealth of information that was not given to us when we was back there at Oakwood.
Right. So I spent a lot of my time in the library at Oakwood.
Okay.
I spent a lot of my time in the media center when I was at Oakwood. So a lot of that is left up to the individual, although I will say, our institutions may or may not be separate and equal. Okay. However, as an individual, black, white, red, brown, you have to have the hunger for that knowledge. So when I spent time in the media centers, because from high school, I knew in high school before I went to college that there was a lack of information as it related to myself. And so
Keep going.
So we spent a lot of time in the library. Oh, okay. You pulling up the receipt.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went, as a child, I was born in New York, and as a child, I went to PS 132, Ralph Bunche Elementary School in Queens, Laurelton, New York. And Ralph Bunche, when you realize, and that's why it's important to have names of people, he was the first African-American ambassador in terms of at the United Nations.
Okay.
Later on in life, I learned that Frederick Douglass was indeed the first Black consul and ambassador to the first Black republic, free independent republic that gained their independence, Haiti. Whereas, you know, I am a descendant of those there people.
What'd you say? Those there. Now, I'm gonna slow you down a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I want for this to really be a, comprehensive, full circle conversation. Because on conversations, what we're doing is oftentimes we're looking at the core belief, and most times it's a negative core belief, not always, right? Because some of us don't come from a space where we don't see ourselves through a negative light, right? We've been shaped differently. But a lot of times there's some information that is put into the environment that helps to kind of diminish, right, the greatness that we know. And so on this Juneteenth edition, I want us to kind of flush these things out through maybe, your story as we continue to talk. Right?
Absolutely.
So we see you. How old are you, Irv?
I probably was about 4 or 5 years old.
4 or 5, still down.
Yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday because it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah. Did you just say, wait, hold on. Irv,
I said what I said.
Stop it.
No, but you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, listen, there's two sides to every coin, and you're right. And I feel like right now, 2026, today, I feel like we're living in this alternative universe.
Okay.
I mean, the stuff that's happening today with the political polarization, the so-called, I'll put it this way. The reality that race is still a issue in 2026 should not be surprising, right? And I spoke to a friend of mine the other day. She gave me a call out of the blue now, and in Oakwoodite, HBCU, by the way, and she indicated she is so tired and fatigued by the fact that racism is still an issue. Microaggressions, as you all call them in the workplace.
I call them macroaggressions, Irv, because anything that is painful, right, is not small.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And what is interesting about that is that macroaggressions cause PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental health condition which is caused by a terrifying event.
Absolutely.
Micro or macroaggressions are terrifying events that happen on the daily.
Yeah.
Okay. And it may not be directed, it could also be directed towards somebody else close to you, or you seeing it on a daily basis on social media.
But I'm gonna stop you there though, Irv, right? So I'm a clinician and trauma is really my area. And according to the DSM-5, which is the quote unquote Bible in the mental health profession, when we're looking at PTSD, they disqualify media, right? So social media, when we sat there and we looked at the life being snuffed out of George Floyd, that disqualified us, right, from even having a part of the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder.
And that's why it's important for us to be engaged in this daily struggle, because the reality is the media giant and conglomerate of social media, there was a law that found them to be liable to children for harmful effects. So to then juxtapose that into what they say, we have to be very careful what they say.
Irv, I tell my clients all the time, and especially when I'm doing trainings, I always ask them the question, do you feel like you are being left out of the picture where it comes to diagnostic material, right? Like, are
And
they really getting your issue? Do
They,
they
and they,
care?
it's purposeful. We have to understand that these things are purposeful and intentional. And not only do we have to read between the lines. It's
Yeah,
not just what's said; it's what's not said, right?
absolutely.
You know, when you look at a text, as they say, if you just reading the text, it's just a pretext, right? You got to read 5 texts above, 5 texts below, understand the context of the text,
Yeah.
right? Then you got to understand who wrote the book. What
Come on.
was, who are they talking to in that time?
Yeah.
What are the cultural and legal ramifications of that time? See, people just, you can't just read it for face value.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And understand that technology's changed to the extent where they have removed a lot of what we used to be able to look at secondary sources. So you could look at dictionary.com and get their basic definition of a word, and it's not enough
Yeah. Yeah.
to really
Absolutely.
give you a full scope of what's happening and what's being said.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, you're totally on point. I am wholeheartedly aligned with what it is that you're saying.
So, I always say readers make leaders. And so to go back to the issue of post-traumatic stress disorder, there is no way you can find that social media is harmful to see. This is what happens. What happens is that definitions and or laws, right? Or the application of those laws change as it is relative to gender and race, and also being rich or being poor. It all plays into how certain things are applied, as in the law.
Wow.
I,
Okay.
I cannot stress enough how there's such a disparity in our criminal justice system.
Listen,
Okay.
listen. I was looking at some stats earlier, and I'm really glad you're going there because when we're talking about this being our Juneteenth edition, um, that's supposed to be our celebratory day of freedom, right? Of freedom. And so as I was just kind of sitting with it, um, my mind went to, Dr. Joy DeGruy and looking at the new Jim Crow and right, what she would call post-traumatic slave syndrome, right, along the lines of your PTSD. But when I started to look at what the stats were, and I'm trying to pull it up here really quickly. It was
Well, there's no doubt we have the largest incarceration numbers in the world.
absolutely. So yeah, we're looking at 2024 to 2026 data, and we're talking about Black Americans overall. It said here that Black Americans, we make up roughly 13 to 14% of the population in the United States of America. Yet, we account for approximately 33 to 37% of the people held in the prisons and the jails.
Make that make sense. Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense, but I'll tell you this: what we say in my profession, specifically, I practice both criminal and civil, but this is what I always say, and the advice I give young people, specifically those of color, is this. The first judge is the police officer.
Okay. Okay. Now break it down. Break it down for us.
In
Okay.
their first encounter, the first person that's going to make the decision as to whether or not you will get detained and or arrested is that police officer. That's your first encounter. So
Yeah.
you might beat the charge, but you're not going to beat the ride. So you could sit there and either be respectful or not. Now we know that there are many encounters where it doesn't matter what you say or do, but there's also certain laws, right?
Yeah.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
So hold on though, or hold on. And I'm loving what you're saying because something just kind of like triggered within me. When we're talking about our freedoms, a lot of times what I hear from young Black men that I work with that has been within the carceral system, right? A lot of it is, I am not gonna sit there quiet and I ain't did nothing wrong. This is how I come across. Like I literally on multiple occasions had young men call me up while the police is trying to detain them and they going off and I'm over here like, Lord have mercy, please just relax. But I don't think that what we hear or what we understand is even freedom comes in silence.
Well, freedom is not free, right? And again, you have a right, huh? It's not an alternative. It's a right to remain silent. How many times have I watched 48 Hours and the young man who's being accused is in the room being taped and is having I didn't do nothing. I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. Police have a right to lie to you, or we have you on tape. A lie. And the thug breaks down in tears, thinking that they have him on tape, but they don't. Again, you have a right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be used against you.
So what I'm asking you though, attorney,
yes, ma'am.
is my silence a part of my freedom?
Absolutely. It's a right. Absolutely. And most of the time with police encounter, it's yes, no, yes, sir, no, sir. They're not your friends. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's not illegal or unlawful for them to lie to you. And that is why you have another amendment that you have a right to have an attorney. Shut up and be quiet and exercise your freedom of rights. Don't think that they're your friends. And this is not just, for Black people. These are anybody who ever gets in the position, it's because you think you're helping the police by telling them X, Y, and Z. They're not your friends, period. And you don't know what it is that they may or may not be looking for. Look, reality is the United States holds nearly 2 million people in federal and state prisons and local jails. The highest incarceration rate globally. Okay? So, like I said, you might beat the charge, but in the meantime, you are getting arrested. You may or may not on that body cam have revealed certain information. You got to keep right to the point. Yes, no, I would like a lawyer. Remain silent. Okay. And understand that that encounter from the beginning to the time that you get to the jail and sometimes in the jail is being recorded. You get in the back of that, it's being recorded. Absolutely. In the back seat of that car being recorded.
Yeah, yeah.
So be quiet.
So it's interesting that you brought that up because just tonight, before we got on here, I received a phone call.
Okay, wow.
Just literally.
Wow.
We got on here, I received a phone call
Right.
Another young black man, and he's in the state of Texas. He is in jail. He just shared with me that he asked for a public defender. They told him he will not be getting a public defender. They have not given him a court date. He's been in there for 30 days. Y'all, we're talking about, are we free in America? He's been in there for 30 days. He's been told no attorney, no court date. They did give him a bond, right? We're talking about that financial or the socioeconomic, right, issues that's embedded within our system. But he don't have the money, right, for the bond.
Right.
And so he's stuck there, helpless, and not feeling a whole lot of hope. Now, here's
I'll tell you this: it's not surprising to hear that, even though a large portion of what you're saying is actually unconstitutional. But it doesn't surprise me. We had a young man, Khalid in New York at in Alcatraz back in the day, who was in jail and eventually died in jail, and he was accused of stealing a backpack. Right. So, but the Constitution states that you are entitled to an attorney, and if you can't afford one will be provided. When you are in a criminal situation where you're facing a day in jail, where your freedom. So there's something wrong there, but you said Texas, so that doesn't surprise me too much.
So that's what I was going to ask, right? So that's where I was going with this. I'm hearing that in the state of Texas, right, Juneteenth, that's where they gave us our freedom, right? They have their own laws, I heard.
Well, think about it. Look what's going on right now in 2026 with the Supreme Court and the gerrymander and the Callis decision. So the reality is this, and I like to say this because I think this is real, right? The more things change, the more things remain the same.
Okay.
It may come packaged in some different packaging material, but it's the same game being played. So
there's nothing new under the sun, right? So
at all. And I've come to the opinion, and I think to deal with this macro aggression called racism, so-called white supremacy, because I don't believe white people are supreme.
I'm with you.
So-called white supremacy.
Yeah.
That you have to comprehend it in its context, and in context that, for me, I don't think in my lifetime racism will ever go away.
I'm with you.
Period. You can pontificate. You can go ahead and preach and this, that, and then the other. I, in my almost double nickel years of living on the face of this earth, realize it is so embedded in, it is American as American pie, and it's not just America, it's a worldwide phenomenon. Okay? That we have to deal with financially, economically, educationally, in every aspect of life, in sports and entertainment.
Yeah.
It rears its ugly head. So when you recognize that mentally, you then can be in a position to every day to be able to deal with that aggression, to deal with your PTSD, your undiagnosed, for most folks, PTSD.
Absolutely.
But once you start to recognize and realize that, you can then do those things that will enable you to live a better life in the context of you not having to yell and scream, because that's what it causes you to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Regular people, your emotions, and because of these disparities, you feel powerless, and so hence many times the first response is to yell and scream.
Yeah.
You will automatically be arrested generally for what? Disorderly conduct.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you have to be smarter. Yes, no. I would like a drawer. Am I under arrest? Those basic tenets of knowing how to, I don't care who you are, how to address a law enforcement officer is very important. Sometimes it's not what you know,
Mm-hmm.
and or what you say, it's how you say it.
But isn't that difficult though, Irv? Like literally, we are talking about the PTSD that we have incurred, right? And it I look at it as legacy PTSD. Like it's been passed down, right?
Absolutely.
Stories.
Trauma.
It's the
That
trauma,
drama. Like
right?
they used to say, save it for your mama.
Listen, and they
It's
do
true.
save it for the
It
next,
is true.
right? And so when you have to interface with that first judge, right? And
Right.
then I want you to go into who the other ones really are as well. But
Right.
that first judge of the,
Right.
officer that is stopping you,
Right.
trauma don't ask you permission to come out.
It doesn't. And that's the problem that I'm trying to explain.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a young boy, I understood it in that lens of being immature. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. It's all about the information. Just because I'm an attorney, author, public speaker, and I wear suits doesn't mean that I will not be racial profile.
Absolutely.
It can and it will happen. But what I do know is that when I come across it, that I now know what not to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that 9 times out of 10,
trained at it now, right? You have been in this thing long enough where you have worked with it. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, right, for an average everyday citizen, right, a layman to get to that point. But it takes a lot of work.
Absolutely,
right?
it does.
The reality is when you are afraid, when we see our freedoms be taken, right? When we forget our freedoms, our lives.
Absolutely, which goes back to the point that I was making earlier about the post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of social media. Yeah. It was said that it's not that we're having more instances of Black lives being taken away. It's not that we're seeing it more often because of social media and technology.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm. I agree wholeheartedly. And I disagree with that portion of the diagnosis or the diagnostic criteria. I wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. See, in order to be racist, one has to have a power.
Yeah.
You can't just, it's like a little kid, saying, I'm going to beat you up, as opposed to somebody actually having the power and ability and saying, I'm going to beat you up. That's going to carry a little bit more weight. If I'm not in control of media, finances, if I cannot effectuate your life with my perspective on who you are, that is your race, it's of none effect. Now, I could be prejudiced. Many people are prejudiced, but there's a difference between being prejudiced. Prejudice means you just prejudge. Okay? But racism has an effect, a political polarizing effect on how you live, whether or not you can get a mortgage.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can get an education, whether or not you're going to jail. Certain things, certain ways in which Karen can address a police officer. You and I may not be in that same position. So it's of utmost important for us to understand that and to teach that. And that's why I want us to be able to organize and start doing seminars at some of our institutions for young people at our colleges, et cetera, and even in the corporate spaces. You understand? They need conversation in corporate structures, as well as not just PWI and in our HBCUs. So I want us to be able to talk about these things, how to deal with being stopped by the police as a subject, how to deal with your PTSD, how to deal with macroaggressions on a daily basis. These are things
as well as for, those that are in the quote unquote power position at that time.
Right. Well, that's
harm reduction.
Absolutely. See, absolutely. I mean, I at one point they looked upon DEI, as being something that was significant in the corporate space.
Yeah.
And I had said it a long time ago, during the time in which George Floyd, all these people, corporate, made all of these pledges that millions of dollars went. See, who enforces that? Who's going to check that, boo?
Right.
There was a lot of lip service that was paid to it, and now what's had been going on? Most of this corporate structure has pulled DEI as a major portion of the conversation, much less. Now, so that's why we have to understand the conversation that, and how to strategically be able to continue to have it as part of our conversation. You have to fight. Period. Right? You have to fight and continue to do what we're doing now, and to educate and to be able to share this information so that we can continue to move the ball forward, continue to move those chains. Because again, people have the information, but they're still misguided. I believe Martin Luther King said, we have come to a place where we have guided missiles, but misguided men. And that's based upon the fact that a lot of us have become so comfortable, and we've forgotten and taken our eyes off the ball. That is because our ancestors 30, 40, 50 years ago got beat up on Edmund Pessim's Bridge, and they crossed the bridge. We thought we were okay. we thought it was all good now, that racism didn't exist any longer. And in fact, a lot of people say that.
Well, we were told that, colorblind racism was real, right? They didn't see race any longer.
Listen, that's so ignorant. There's so many different colors in the world. Flowers. Some people like red flowers. Some people like yellow flowers. There's nothing wrong with that. The beauty of a garden, your diet, your day, your social construct, your relations,
Absolutely.
Your wardrobe is the fact that it has different colors, okay? Colors. Nothing wrong with that. The point is where you want to demean me because of the color of my skin and not the content of my character. That's the issue. So let's not take our eyes off the ball and engage in this pseudo science or the pseudo polarization and politics and allow them to define who you are. That's the point. That's why books are being taken out
Yeah.
You know, they took out Maya Angelou's Maya Color Purple, Maya Angelou. You know, all of these books are being taken out of our libraries, of our schools. The more things change, the more things remain the same. So I say comprehend that the struggle, the beautiful struggle continues.
I love that. I love that. But what's your thoughts on how we have seemingly, and this is just me, right? I'm not saying that how I feel is completely right. I'm not saying how I feel is completely wrong, but it's my thought and my feelings on this, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You mentioned the struggle. You mentioned this is why we have to keep fighting. But what I'm seeing is that the fighting has turned into infighting and not necessarily fighting the causes against those that are truly perpetrating the harm.
Right. And these studies have been done on animals, whereas there's a lack of resources or scarcity. And instead of uh, finding the correct solutions to the problem, there's infighting.
Right.
Whereas,
Irv, who gets to bring the correct solution? I remember sitting up in a meeting, and this is when I was still, working in the traditional corporate space. And there was this big county meeting that occurred. And I got up in there and I told him, I said, listen here, we know how to grow our own selves, right? We don't need a white savior at all. We
right,
know how to do this thing. What we
right,
do need is or are the resources to be able to do so.
right. And see, that's the same old fight, right? You know, Martin Luther King, this is really pertinent. When integration, we were fighting for integration during many of the during the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
But the reality is, a lot of our teachers were a little bit more concerned about our advancement than in the integrated structure, right?
Right,
And he
right.
said, I believe I've been integrating my people into a burning house.
You got it.
So the point that you're making is very well received. And so therefore, again, I must say, every individual must be responsible for their own upkeep and be consistent with continuing to upgrade yourself. It's very important that we continue as a society, and as a so-called, we're not minorities, 2/3 of the world population look like me and you.
Right,
Um,
right.
but as people of color, as Black people, we need to be able to grow our own, right? Grow our own foods and vegetables, right? We need to be able to counter the food desert, if you will. And that's not just it's physical food, right? Farming,
Yes.
as it is regarding knowledge and the application of that knowledge, right? Books being taken away. Well, we need to be able to share some of those books with our progeny. Books that have been very important to our own makeup, right? W.B. Du Bois. You know, look, Maya Angelou said it a long time ago. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Absolutely.
The problem is we continue to hem and haw, right? And we don't believe what people say and or what they're doing. And then it's not until it happens to us or somebody close to us, then we want to push the alarm. It's been real since day one. It's real deal Holyfield. I mean, we are living in a position where it's an everyday reality in terms of
cyclical. It really feels cyclical, right? Like
it is exactly cyclical because you have to understand it is by design. See, power does not concede without demand.
Yeah.
Nobody's just going to give you power just because you're smiling.
Mm-hmm.
The bootlicker gets what? Polish in your mouth. Look, I know. I love the first lady. You know, I love that today they opened up the Obama presidential center, a star-studded $850 million Obama presidential center in Chicago on the South Side. I loved the fact that what impact that's going to make. Think about that on the South Side of Chicago. Michelle Obama said something, two things noteworthy. Number one, she said, you know, I've been to all of these places and spaces where there's so many intellectual, or not so much intellectual, but so many people with these great titles and money. They're not that smart. They are not that smart, she says.
At all.
President Trump. Okay. Yes. She said one more thing. And I have to half disagree with this one, though. Let me let you. She said, when they go low, you go high. I say when they go low, sometimes you need to give them an uppercut. They're primed for the uppercut. I'm serious. Many of us, you know, turn the other cheek and etc. I only got two cheeks.
Ain't that what E. Cleveland used to say all the time? I only got but two. So you give me one, I got to preserve that other.
See, a lot of that was a misnomer even in the civil rights movement. See, Martin Luther King had a lot of folk that had guns around him all the time. Look, we're just coming off the anniversary. What was it, 6 to 9 some odd years ago, where you know this young man goes into a church and kills 9 people at a Bible study. Yeah. Come on, man. We are not safe.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why I'm saying we can't have this mentality, right, that everything is hunky-dory. That it's all good, and it's all good in the hood, right? It's all good. That's why I'm saying there is, I call it, there's a duality.
Yeah.
There's a duality, and there's a time and place for everything. There's a time to be silent. There's a time to love, and there's a time to hate. There's a time to love, and a time to pray, and a time to kill. I mean, there's a time.
But hold on. I got to stop you right there, because I talked with this other young man, and you know, he presents to some as very, very radical, brilliant young man. But he continually kind of puts forward this point, and it's a great point. And it's dealing with bearing arms, right? That is supposed to be one of our freedoms as well, right? But with the target of structural racism and systemic racism happening towards Black people, then our Black men wind up in prison, so they're off the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, again, this whole lens of freedom and how we're looking at the replication of slavery, but just in a different formation. And so he's talking about a lot of times, right? They have us in the carceral system, or we get out, we beat the case, if you will, but we still wind up with a felony, and then I cannot carry a gun. So now when things begin to happen to said, right, our Black women, Black men can't come to our rescue because they got a felony, they can't bear arms, and now we all are just out here, right? Just easy prey.
Yeah, so there are many that work on restoration of rights, and not only for the bearing of arms, but also for restoring voters' rights, right? Voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's also a new, not so much new, but a, a perspective that women themselves should bear arms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are specific groups that teach women the A through Z of bearing arms.
Yeah.
You yourself, and I believe in it, that, you know, we as a people should learn all of the above. See, when it comes to it, when it comes to it, I believe that not only in bearing arms, I believe we need to be able to know how to farm.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that, you know, for me, um, I grew up in a household with three other brothers. My mom taught us how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't. I mean, you know, you are who you are, and how you grow up. But I believe that I should know how to cook, clean, and what have you. I think it's a disservice for a man not to know. And we're living in different times where the reality is a lot of women, especially black women, are working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not you're not demasculating me because I'm cooking. Where they do that at? I enjoy cooking, but I want to appreciate a woman to cook too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nowadays, there's some women who don't know how to cook or don't choose to want to cook. I mean, you do what you want, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I think one of the sexiest things is to be able to cook with your partner. But the point is that we need to know how to survive. It's all about survival.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being able to know how to protect yourself from A to Z. You know, whether it's bearing arms, whether it's camping, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's bearing arms, whether it's knowing how to speak to. See, all of these things are relevant. Your education does not stop when you get a high school, if you get a high school diploma. As a matter of fact, most millionaires don't even have, a college degree. Mark Zuckerberg,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk,
Yeah.
but he's a trillionaire now. I said a trillionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't get confused, right? Because this new generation, many people feel entitled, like you just entitled,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they already understand and have been keeping their mind or eyes on the ball because a lot of these young people already know that AI. Congratulations on the work that you all been doing
Thank
in Michigan in fighting against these data centers
you. Yeah. Yeah.
where they're coming out
Long
of
haul. Long haul.
college, where they're about to come out of college, and there's a lack of opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, these people don't. Michael Jackson was right. They don't care about us.
Mm-mm, not at all. Not at all. And if we're able, right, to have some earnings where we're able to sustain our family for the most part, right, then we are really truly doing good. And so when I think about, how many of our ancestors were brought here, those of, some of ours were already here.
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
and
That's right.
enslavement piece of things, right? It has done great damage and great harm. When we're looking at it at the core, what racism and what slavery has done for generations, even though it doesn't look the same, right? It has eroded and diminished us just from a space of, you know, obtaining more of a Western individualized thought versus us
Absolutely.
being a communal people who
Absolutely.
need one another, right?
Absolutely. So when my grandparents came to America, my grandfather essentially bought a home in Brooklyn. See, the narrative that you know Africa and the Caribbean, Haiti is the bush is a part of that lie. And again, my granddad came from Cap Haitian, Haiti, which Haiti was the first independent Black republic where slaves and only where slaves earned their independence by virtue of beating Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the greatest generals in the world at the time, in 1804. But when my grandfather came, he came in on a plane. Hello? Is anybody out there? There? On a plane. Not on a boat. On a plane. And bought a house in Brooklyn, New York. And all of his 6 or 7 daughters came through. They lived in that house until they were able to afford another house. Now what we have? Single family housing. See how the game changed?
Absolutely.
So now we're not better off than our parents. Yeah. We're living in a society where most of us can't afford a home.
Absolutely.
And we're not using, nothing changed. The more things change, the more they remain the same. But if we, as a population of numbering over 49 million of Black people in America, if each one of us was to save $1 a day and develop a fund, $1 a month, $1 a month, think about what we could do. $1, 50 cents.
But it go back to this.
But that's my point.
Indoctrination.
Well, that's my point. That's why I keep telling you.
Get yours. I'ma get mine. I got it up out the mud. All of that sort of foolishness. And we won't even go to our family for help most times.
Well, that's why I say that we must continue to be that light. And unfortunately, but reality, we have to deal with reality. Everybody's not going to be about that life.
Yeah, yeah.
And matter of fact, unfortunately, most people are not going to be about that life.
Yeah.
So what's really going on is you got to find your tribe, because a lot of us are dealing with tribalism. Oh, Africans and the Caribbean and African Americans and Jamaicans and Haitians and you from the north, it's that tribal warfare.
And where did that come from, though? We all here. It used to be the melting pot, now it's the salad bowl. Like, where did that come in at? Because Irv, I'm sorry, it is keeping us divided so much so that we can't fight the opposition. And we're not saying, or at least I'm not saying, right, that all white people are the enemy. I ain't saying,
no, right? Absolutely not.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
But and absolutely not. I agree with you.
The system that has been, like you said, interwoven just like American apple pie, and you know that.
Yes.
It is there and it's not going anywhere because it is founded on privilege, power, and greed.
Right. But I want to say on that point, there's always two sides to every coin.
Yeah, true.
Right. We used to have, our system is also based upon cultural, and it's not just slavery, but tribalism is real. Colorism is real.
It is.
Okay. Gender is real. Yeah. The keys to these colors are real.
Yeah.
So with that said, the conscious and unconscious biases that we all have
Right.
is pertinent to the beautiful struggle. Whereas, the division that we create amongst each other, where you might have a person from the Caribbean or a person from Africa or a person who is Black and African American looking at each other in a prism thinking that they're better than each other for one reason or another.
But do you think that was,
I think it's both sides.
that was
Learned.
okay?
I think it was both sides. I think it was burned. It was burned into our consciousness.
Seared. Yeah.
Learned behavior and culturally created by both sides, internally and externally.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I asked that is because one of my old pastor's wives, love her dearly. They were from the Caribbean, and we would, have Sabbath dinner together all the time, and we ended up having a conversation one particular Sabbath where she and another West Indian gentleman kind of had a back and forth about when she got here that she was told, do not associate with Black people, period.
And see, the thing is, it's Black American people.
That's what I'm saying, because the other diasporic groupings,
right? And so therefore, in our training, whether you from the continent of Africa, right, and or the Caribbean, and or North America, these United States of America, Canada, or Latin America, you have to have this Pan-African concept of what it really means to be Black. Listen, I was born in New York City, Queens, New York City. My parents come from Haiti. So I'm Haitian, for all intents and purposes, I'm Haitian African American, if you will.
Right.
But then when you really start to study and understand who we are, many of us were indigenous to the North and South America. We came before Columbus, right? And in this latest, the doctor, what's his name? One of my favorite astrophysicists. He spoke on Shannon Sharp's show the other day, and he talked about the migration of indigenous folk. First of all, indigenous people came in and around Africa. The origin of civilization looks like you and me. There's no doubt about that. From the San peoples in South Africa that migrated to Asia, et cetera, et cetera. The origins of humanity look like me and you. And there was a time in which geographically there was a connectivity where people migrated on land to North America. Scientific fact. Those people were indigenous. And we only been taught our history as it relates to those people who came across the Atlantic slave trade or the Middle Passage.
Yeah,
we are all the same people.
Yeah, I agree.
We start recognizing and realizing that and understanding the history, as it were, of those who are, see, there is an automatic assumption that based upon what you're saying, the junk that we've been, the junk in the trunk, TV, the lack of study and reading, that Africa is all about bushes. They purposely did that. Most cartoons from the West, pictured black folk, and the blacker the berry, we know the sweeter the juice. But back in the day, the worst thing you could tell us is that you are an African booty scratcher.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But now we realize, and this is why I say it's a beautiful struggle. What changed the game? Coming to America.
Right. Eddie Murphy, he did his thing. They just honored him. Did you
Yes,
see
they
that?
did. Absolutely.
It was beautiful. It was
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah. But to have those things change our perspective because media matters. It matters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wakanda. They used to say, oh, a black, protagonist, all black, that's not going to make no money. What? What say you now?
Indeed, right.
And I want to see, if not produce, I really would love to executive produce a movie on the Haitian Revolution. And
Toussaint.
yes, Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines. And it starts back from a man named Mackandel. See, Mackandel was the precursor to Nat Turner.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that set it off.
Okay. All right.
Yes. He was the Nat Turner before Nat Turner in Haiti that really set it off. And see, we don't hear about that.
Yeah.
But that's why media matters. And I want to integrate it with the history of because my great-grandfather, great-granduncle, he was an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And he was disappeared or killed as a result of being against the government that be. We don't know how much America was influenced by the Haitian Revolution. It doubled in size as a result of the Louisiana Purchase, which is a misnomer, right? Wherein indigenous people, listen, there's a whole nother history that we haven't been told and yet to understand. The whole Gullah Geechee culture. Free indigenous black folk, Negro Indians.
Also North Carolina, South Carolina area.
From Jacksonville, St. Augustine, all the way up to North Kakalaki, as it were, North Carolina. Oh, yeah. Free black people that lived off the land.
Yeah.
And some of the Gullah Geechee people in South Carolina sound just like the people in Barbados and or Cape Verde. We have the World Cup going on now, and there's only 2 Caribbean countries there, and that's Curacao and Haiti. But we have all the other Wakandians, such as Cape Verde, which is off the coast of Africa, which they want to call Latino. And they were like, no, we're not Latino Africans. We are Africans. You understand what I'm saying? We need to consistently understand who and what we are. Look, do you know the largest percentage of black people outside of the continent of Africa are in Brazil?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
And because many of us, like, I grew up in Miami. Mm-hmm. My concept of who a Cuban person was, was for all intents and purposes, a white Latino. That was my perspective, because that's what was in Miami, right?
Yeah.
But when I went to Cuba, 2/3, listen, a majority of Cubans look like you and me.
So I was going to say, and it's so funny because you mentioned Barbados and then you mentioned Cuba. And so, we know with the census and them pretty much just naming and writing whatever they want to, right? On these different forms. My entire life, I said, I got to get back to Barbados because that's where my grandmother was born.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad's mother. Until my cousin gave me some information and sent me this paper or whatever, and it said that she actually was from Cuba before she made it to New York. And so I'm sitting up there like, okay, is it Cuba or Barbados? I said, well, maybe the fire in me is from Cuba. I don't know. But yeah, we will. I think we won't always find and connect the dots truly and truthfully.
And that's what we have to understand.
Yeah.
And what we have to understand is that we were not, right, just in the continent of Africa, that we were seafaring people that built our own ships. Like Malcolm X said, Plymouth Rock, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. We were always over here prior to the settlement, prior to America, right? Being the Declaration of Independence, 1776.
Yeah.
We've been coming over here.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised that your people occupy both places.
Oh, yeah. But it was one person that they just couldn't get it right, is what I'm saying. I know her mother was from England and her father was straight from Africa.
Right. Right.
So I'm aware of that, but I'm just talking about how, the labeling and where they say you're from, because there's this constant diasporic travel. We really
there you go.
Yeah,
that's my point to you.
Yeah.
So therefore, when you begin to understand that through our history, not his story, then you are able to. How did a black man from Haiti, discover the city of Chicago? Jean-Baptiste Point-du-Sable. How you gonna come? Hello? How you gonna have an IT in Missouri, an IT in Mississippi? Huh?
Yeah.
How did that happen? So when you begin to understand and comprehend our true history and understand who we were as a people, then the Haitian Caribbean, it becomes more of your brother. See, when we begin to understand more of one another, then you're able to put down those prejudice, walls of prejudice or ignorance. You don't see him as the other. They begin to understand, wait a minute, Lord have mercy. If it weren't for the civil rights movement,
Yeah.
I may not have had this temporary protected status.
Yeah.
Or the right to vote.
Yeah.
Or the pathway towards citizenship.
Absolutely.
But if you go back further, if it wasn't for the Haitian Revolution, I may not have had suffrage to be released. So going back to the Juneteenth situation, it goes back. We must comprehend and understand that our struggle is not just contained to North America and the South of these United States of America. It is worldwide.
Yeah.
It is worldwide. And when we begin to use our passports, hello.
If we can afford our passports.
Well, the thing is, if we were buying less bling and investing in ourselves.
Bling, Irv, come on now. You got to give some of us a break. Everybody ain't out here blinged out.
Look, let me explain something to you. I don't have a problem with, looking good. I always say that, fashion.
Look at this.
Okay. We got the receipts.
Yeah, I ain't mad at
No, listen. Fashion speaks louder than words. Fashion speaks louder than words. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just think that we need to invest and money, time is money. Invest more of our time building up and on education, on experiences, right?
Yeah.
And to get your passport, it doesn't cost more than $50 to $100, right?
They've upped it. It's a little higher than that. It's about 160 to get it.
Right. And the average ring, the average necklace. Come on now.
Oh, I hear you.
A meal out. My point is this: traveling is like an encyclopedia set, huh? And if you haven't traveled, you've only seen one page. There is nothing that you can do to invest in yourself like in traveling.
But I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna get ready to start landing this plane.
Even if it's in America.
I hear you. I'm with it. Trust me. You know, look, actually, we'll be down your way in a couple of weeks. Got to give me some sun.
And so you got the bug.
You know, you already know.
You and your bestie, your BFF, Mr. Lonnie Chapman, my good friend.
Indeed. Yes.
There were some good days. I smile, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think it's important that we talk about HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and what they do for you as an individual, and how. Here it is, and I'm gonna be quiet because I want you to finish what you were saying. No, but it's important. You just sparked something, and how we need to be more cognizant of and use our connections.
Yeah.
In terms of our network, because our network is our network, and we don't use it enough. But go ahead.
But I mean, now you done got me off on something else talking about the HBCUs. But I mean, listen, a lot of times we are always thinking, and I think it kind of goes back to what one of our other classmates is saying here. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't know who we are.
Absolutely.
And we believe what other people tell us, right? And I'm kind of highlighting that because when you're talking about HBCUs, a lot of times it is downplayed. It is talked negatively about.
Oh, yeah.
Only feel good about ourselves when we have had the opportunity to make it into one of the premier PWIs. We think that we really doing something. And the one thing that helps us as a people that I believe to grow and expand and climb and be able to see the world, there is no connection like the connection that we got from OC.
Absolutely.
None from Oakwood, right?
Absolutely.
We can go anywhere on the face of this earth and probably run into someone that we know and be able to say, hey, can I lay my head here for just a little bit? I want to get out, go around, but I don't necessarily have the funds. And they will usher you in with open arms.
But that's the tradition.
It is. But when we speak against, because we don't know the value of what is embedded, we might not have all of the luxuries on our HBCU campuses, all of the technology, but what we have is brilliant instructors. We have love. And on ours, because it was a Christian institution, God was definitely center and embedded, right? And we had that uplifting spirit of that entire community that kept us going, that kept us hungry, like you talked about earlier, for a better reality. We were able to see ourselves more positively than what we'll ever get. And I mean ever get in a predominantly white institution. And I done been in both.
Absolutely.
And I know you have as well.
Absolutely. That's why I have to highlight that. Yeah. But then when you highlight that, it then comes back to the conversation that you began before I interrupted you with regards to travel.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can go to Bermuda, and
And they want
before I go to Bermuda, I can reach out to a member of parliament,
Absolutely.
reach out to the CEO of the power company, huh?
That powers the entire island.
And these are people that we used to eat ramen noodles together, and
Absolutely.
so I can get invited to parliament in the VIP section, huh? And then find out when I come in and sergeant at arms and I greet them and I come early, he then ushers me to meet the parliamentarian who is an Oakwood College graduate from the 70s, who is the House parliamentarian, huh?
Yeah.
And that's how we get down. I can go to the United States. I can go to you.
Travel, but Irvin, it really
Yes,
isn't
ma'am.
about the travel alone. It also highlights that God makes up the difference, and we don't have to get stuck on what it is that we see. We just have to, right?
Right, but again, it goes back to, and I'm glad we continue in this conversation. The core of our conversation is the interconnectivity that we have in terms of people of color. And despite the fact that many may try to discount us based on the color of our skin, as opposed to the content of our character, that we are more powerful than we even imagine and comprehend and understand.
So on that note, there's something that I do on the show to wrap it up, Irv, and it's called A Seed of Hope.
Nice.
Starting to go there, right? Already. But I want for you, I'm gonna give you, because you're a bit, verbose.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. But I'm gonna give you, instead of 60 seconds, I'm gonna give you 120. I give you 2 minutes.
Oh, I feel privileged.
Listen, you are privileged, trust me, because I'm be like, make it
Black
happen.
privilege.
But if you would kind of round this conversation off, because we've talked about the hardship, right? We've talked about the struggle. We've talked about the juxtaposition of thought that we are free, and yet we still deal with the disguise of the same sorts of things that had us enslaved, right? Even if it just simply starts with the mind. So, if you would, 2 minutes, I want you to give us a powerful word of hope as a people, as we continue to fight these injustices, and not each other, but fight the injustices that we are dealing with here in America and even across the globe. But I would like it to center more so on America, as Juneteenth is centered to who we are here in the States. So,
a Negro Indian indigenous man was spending time with his grandson, and his son asked his grandfather about a story in terms of the two wolves. I don't know if you heard that story. And his grandfather, essentially, the story goes, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have a lot of time, that you have a good wolf and an evil wolf. And the son said, well, which one is the best? And he says, the one that you feed. We need to continue to feed ourselves with organic mentalities, foods, and positive things, such as my book, 100 Days of Real Motivation, and be able to listen to shows like this that light us up and that allow us organically to continue to grow. Look, I don't know everything. He that thinks he knows everything knows not that he does not know a doggone thing. If you're living, you're still growing. Continue to grow. Be engaged in politics. I know it, politics, poly, many ticks, bloodsuckers, but you need to be engaged in it because it's going to always be engaged in you. We need to be engaged with the Charles Blows, the Abby Phillips, know what's going on. The Isaiah Martins, be engaged and learn outside of the purview of what your little world is. Readers make leaders. If you have a dream, follow your dream to fruition. Do not allow people to define who you are and the extent of what you can do. Again, I will say travel, 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 because then you begin to put and connect the dots. We need to connect those dots, and we need to connect those dots quickly, because that is the essence of our power. Our network, your network is your net worth. And I'm not simply, my network is not simply based upon the color of my skin tone. Many of my friends from TWI and don't look like me. And it's very important that you have a diverse network. Okay? It's very important. And at the end of the day, always regard that God, with you and God, is a majority. I thank you for having me on your show. If anybody wants to reach out, I have a website, www.lawofficeofirvindaphnis.com, www.lawofficeofirvindaphnis.com, and you can see what we do in terms of the services that we provide, and etc. But I'm gonna have to get you out with us. We've been talking about this for far too long. So we could start this speaking tour. I think people need conversations to be in and I know you've been thinking about this, not just a corporate space, but we need to have these seminars and take it on tour, because our people need this. America and the world needs conversations.
Wow. Wow. Well, I am honored that you would think so. I do appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. Let's go.
Hey, I am down for it.
I already had your name in rooms that you haven't been.
Well, I am honored and grateful. And
before we leave, we have one of our classmates that's running for state representative right around by you, Mr. Oliver, City Council Member Oliver Davis.
Yeah, Oliver Davis, yeah.
And we talked about you because of the data center situation where you guys organized and fought against that. He wants to talk to you about that. Professor Emerita Sheila Davis as well. I've been on the phone. We were talking about you. Dr. Monique Dennis down there in South Florida. Again, we've been talking about you. All of these part of our network. I want us to connect the dots so that we can make a lot of these connections to be able to make an impact in our various groups. And notice I'm with the churches. I love our churches, but I want us to be in the corporate and educational space, not just HBCUs, but also PWIs. But I do also want us to start in the, I do want us to be about starting in the, what I would say, a chickpea circus or Morning Star circuit. Not the Chickling circuit. But no, I do want us to touch base on the HBCU.
The Loma Linda and the Worthington circle. I get it. For our listening audience, y'all, we just being funny. We are, at least our denomination promotes vegetarianism. And so those were some of the products that we would eat prior to, just in case. But we have a lot of vegetarians that are not right within the SDA circle. They actually probably beating us eating better, but That's kind of where that reference came from, y'all. So, Irv, I so appreciate you, and I do
Thank
appreciate
you.
the kind words. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and the richness of this conversation. I told you we're gonna be down your way, so hook something up. I can slide.
Absolutely.
But I do appreciate you and the wealth of information that you have shared this evening. And I am certain that our listening audience was able to receive something that would at least be able to kind of open up a measure of awareness, some desire, some hunger. I know that they had to have gotten that tonight. So, again, my friend,
It was a pleasure.
This was a good one. This is how I like to roll. People that know me, they call me Angela up here.
Nice.
Angela Davis, but no.
That's all right. And that's what's up. Well, can I say something before we leave?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we want to put it like, I would say 220, right during the pandemic, right?
Right.
When before conversations, and I said, listen, you are amongst the best. I've heard you. Do not think that you need to have homiletics in order to spread your message. And look at you now. Look at you now.
I mean, you did say that. You was trying to get me to preach, and I ain't a preacher.
I said you need to just do what you do.
You and Ty tried to get me caught up. I did it once.
I said you don't have to. You just speak and do what you need to do.
You did say that.
That's what I said. Listen, you have a message that only you, only you can promulgate. Do that. There's only one you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So and thank you for having me.
To our audience, it's only one you too. And do not let the negativity that we may have to face, the micro, the macro aggressions, the racism, right? The issues and social ills that we experience on a daily basis, do not let that diminish who you are.
Amen.
We are great.
That's right.
Is waiting on you. So on that, Irv, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Signing off, and to our listening audience, I will be back. We will be back next week, Thursday, in Conversations at 8 p.m. This is your host, Leah MC. Have a beautiful and blessed night.